So it's a new year. You have your New Year's resolutions, and one of yours is to enjoy your life and to get out of your own way. So, I've got the perfect book for you. The Healthy Mind Toolkit by Alice Boyes, PhD. In this book, she talks about one major claim. She talks about self-sabotage and how harmful it can be. And in this claim, she gives 3 minor claims. The first one, she talks about finding positives in negative situations. Number 2, she talks about doing little things to make your life easier in the long run. And number 3, she talks about small thinking errors that make your life a little more stressful that add up over time. If you're interested, let's get into the video. The first major plot point that Alice talks about in her book is silver linings. The main thing that she talks about in this section is finding positive things in negative situations. She gives you 3 reasons why this tactic is effective. Number 1, it gives you happiness in your life. Number 2, it helps you find your strengths in life. And number 3, it helps you make better choices in harder and more difficult situations. Alice explains that this tactic is most effective for people who nitpick little things and overthink seemingly harmless situations. In this section, Alice gives us 2 experiments to help us use this tactic. The first one that she talks about is stepping back and looking at the situation as a whole. She says this is important because stepping back can help you look at the picture as a whole and understand and make a better choice. The second experiment that Alice talks about in her book is about finding the silver lining by using a flowchart. This minor claim relates to the major claim because a form of self-sabotage is looking at negatives only and not finding positives in anything, or finding that silver lining. The second minor claim that Alice makes in her book is about doing little things to make your life just that much easier. In this section, Alice helps us get rid of the unneeded stress from the little things that can add up over time. An example that Alice gives us in the book is going on a 30-minute errand every week that is pointless. You get nothing comes out of it. That totals up to 26 hours in a year. Now, she talks about how this is wasted time, and if you have that time back, that's 26 hours that you could have been doing something better. Again, Alice gives us 2 experiments to use. One experiment that she talks about in her book is about grocery lists. She discusses the reasons why grocery lists are important, and they help you go to the grocery store and get out in a timely manner. The second experiment that she talks about is a very important one. Her example that she uses, when she's writing her email address out for people, when she's writing an email or anything, she will just write QWE and then space, and it auto changes to her email address. Now, this may seem like a little thing that is very irrelevant at the time, but can build up in little amounts and just get bigger and bigger and bigger and more annoying, and you might just snap one day. And that little thing gets rid of the unneeded stress that can come from it. This again is self-sabotage because, like she says, the little things add up. And self-sabotage is about doing things that can help you make your life easier, less stressful. And so this tactic really helps you with that. The third and final plot point that she talks about in her book is about small thinking errors. Now, I think this is one of the more important ones of all 3, because as time goes by, these little things can make you not see easy choices that you could have made. Also, they make your life a lot more positive and a lot less stressful. And I know I sound like a broken record saying it, but this is basically what the whole book is talking about. It's trying to help you not self-sabotage and be less stressed, have a less stressful life, and have life be easier. Like, we don't want life to be super challenging 24/7. Alice says that this is bad because when you use self-sabotaging words such as will, would, can't, and things such as that, I'll put a list right here. Alice gives one really big, very important piece of evidence about this. She talks about if you use self-sabotaging words such as will, won't, can't, could, should, etc. She talks about using these can make little things seem like a catastrophe. Everything just seems terrible if it doesn't turn out the way that you planned. An example that she gives about using these self-sabotaging words, as I've already mentioned, She talks about how, let's say the last phone you had was an Apple phone. You're ready to upgrade. Most likely, you're going to go for another Apple if nothing went wrong, because there's no need to get a new type of phone. Just stay with the thing that you know works. A sentence that you might say is, I should get an Apple phone, because you've already used it. This should gets rid of the opportunity for new things like an Android. Let's say you were unhappy with your Apple, but you say, I should get an Apple. Then, that Android's out of the picture, even if it could be better. But Apple's better. The main idea that she gives in this claim is about writing sentences with those words. Would, will, should, could, etc. And she says to eliminate the words and write in other words that are less self-sabotaging, basically. So we've talked about the 3 minor claims. Now, you may be wondering,
Noah, what's her credibility?
in my opinion, I think she's credible because she has a PhD. And throughout the book, she talks about her own life experiences, about what she's done, and she's gone through all of these points that she's talked about. Not to mention, she's a therapist, so she's listened to people's stories about all these things, and she's listened and had first-hand experiences in them herself. Well, now, you also may be asking, Noah, what are the negatives? I'm glad you asked. The only negatives that I can see throughout the book is that she can be sometimes unrelatable to teens or kids. She talks about her life experiences with her spouse, with money problems, and with relationships, which some people can relate to, but not everyone. She also talks about her children, so maybe she could make it more relatable towards teens and kids. The tone that she uses throughout the book is very informative, you could say. This tone is effective for her book because she's saying that when it comes to self-sabotage, there's no funny business. You're not here to self-sabotage, you're here to fix your self-sabotage. And with that, that's it for me today. See you next time.